speaking of wanting better stuff out of everything, we actually have a digital rights activist with us. Ernie Zahn, would you like to jump into the conversation?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show. Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, so there are a lot of industries and social justice projects that have seen success with grassroots campaigns, and certainly with SOPA and PIPA that saw a lot of success on the open web frontier. But there are so many other issues regarding open web that are maybe less accessible to mainstream audiences. And how do we make those conversations more accessible to everyday people?
Oh man! All right, this is something I've been thinking about for. I mean, I wanted to get at this with the book, but I think I was hypothesizing about awful things that might happen if we let government surveillance run amok. And then Edward Snowden happens, and they all were true, which was depressing. SOPA and PIPA was imminent threat, and that's what made it so effective. Because
and let me just do SOPA and PIPA for our international audience, because for us
of course,
in the States,
I'm so US-centric. I'm sorry.
Stop Online Piracy Act.
Yes.
SOPA and PIPA was the Protect the IP Act, and that's important because
these were two bills largely funded by the entertainment industry as a means to, in theory, curb piracy, but would in fact just break the internet.
Yeah.
And we were able to defeat them, millions of Americans, grassroots style, and I happen to be a part of it. But what was so useful there was it really was an imminent threat. This will break the internet. Sites could black out because if these bills become law, user-generated content doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah.
Things like privacy are so much more subtle. And in this way, violations of it are more insidious because it's harder to galvanize people. We've seen Restore the Fourth movements. I was at the protest in New York. It was nationwide.
Yeah.
There was a Stop Watching Us protest.
Those protests from last year.
A couple weekends ago on the anniversary of the Patriot Act.
Why do you care so much? You are a multimillionaire. Why do you care?
Well, because I'm a citizen first. We have, and here's the thing. It is so obvious to people who understand the technology. Our right to privacy, whether it's our physical mail or our physical home, is protected under the Fourth Amendment, right? If you want it, if you want access to it, get a warrant. Our digital privacy, our digital mail, our digital storage should be treated the same way. And unfortunately, we don't have enough people in government who think that way. And so to answer your question, I think the way to galvanize people and the way to actually ultimately change the minds of elected officials is to, and I hate to say this, but to tie this to the business consequences of it. Before I went and met with senators and reps about SOPA PIPA, I went on the technology subreddit and asked, do I talk about censorship or do I talk about jobs? And everyone said, forget censorship. Not that we are that cynical, but just, really, jobs are what every elected official wants to be responsible for and not responsible for destroying. And so we have to make this about, if Americans, if anyone in the world does not trust the secure data that is on servers here in the United States, that's going to be a business cost, a significant business, right? The cloud is where all of our data is now. And if no one believes that it's secure because it's in America, that is a huge multi-billion-dollar cost to this country.